The crystalline throne room of the Zephyrian Empire gleamed with bioluminescent veins that pulsed like a dying heartbeat. King Vorthak's 6 eyes fixed upon the human diplomat who stood before him, her hands clasped behind her back in a pose that suggested either respect or concealment. Ambassador Elena Kozlova appeared unremarkable by human standards. Middle-aged, gray-streaked hair pulled into a simple bun, wearing the standard-issue diplomatic uniform of the Terran Federation. "Your terms are unacceptable." Vorthak's voice resonated through his chitinous throat, causing the lesser nobles in attendance to skitter backward on their insectoid legs. His massive form, nearly 12 feet tall and armored in natural bone plates, loomed over the small human. "Humanity will submit to Zephyrian rule, or your species will be harvested for biomass." Elena's expression remained neutral, though something flickered behind her dark eyes, something that would have given the alien king pause, had he been capable of reading human micro-expressions. "Your Majesty, I must respectfully disagree. The Terran Federation offers partnership, not subjugation." The king's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. "Partnership? Your pathetic species has existed for mere millennia. We have ruled the galaxy for eons before your ancestors crawled from their primordial mud." He gestured with one of his 4 arms toward the assembled court. "Witness the fate of those who defy the Zephyrian Empire." Along the walls, in crystalline cases, stood the preserved remains of various alien diplomats, a grim museum of failed negotiations. The Altarian ambassador, his blue skin now gray and lifeless. The consortium representative, her mechanical augmentations corroded and useless. Dozens of species that had dared to refuse Zephyrian dominance. "I see," Elena said quietly, her voice carrying an odd chill that seemed to drop the room's temperature. "And you believe humans will simply capitulate? You have no choice," Vorthak sneered. "Your fleet is pathetic, your weapons primitive, your warriors soft." He leaned forward, his massive bulk casting Elena in shadow. "But perhaps I am being too hasty. You are aesthetically pleasing for a meat creature. Serve as my personal attendant, and I might allow your homeworld to exist as a breeding facility rather than reducing it to ash." The silence that followed was deafening. Even the bioluminescent veins seemed to pulse more slowly, as if the palace itself held its breath. Elena's head tilted slightly, and when she spoke, her voice carried an accent that hadn't been there before. Something old, something that seemed to echo from forgotten forests and ancient fears. "Tell me, Your Majesty, do you know why humans tell stories?" Vorthak's compound eyes narrowed. "What relevance does your primitive mythology?" "Stories," Elena continued, seemingly oblivious to his interruption, "are how we remember, how we pass down truths that are too important to forget." She began to walk slowly around the throne, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. "We tell stories of heroes and monsters, of light and darkness, of things that lurk in the deep woods where even the bravest fear to tread." The alien nobles shifted nervously as Elena's circuit brought her behind the king's throne. Vorthak twisted his massive head to track her movement, but something about her gait, predatory, deliberate, made his combat instincts stir for the first time in centuries. "In my homeland," Elena said, her voice now carrying the cadence of an old folktale, "we tell stories of Baba Yaga, the witch of the iron teeth, the guardian of the boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the dead." She paused directly behind the throne. "But those are just stories, yes? Primitive human mythology?" Vorthak's forearms tensed as he prepared to pivot and strike down the insolent human. But when he turned, Elena was no longer there. She stood in the center of the room, though none had seen her move. Her diplomatic uniform was gone, replaced by a coat that seemed to be cut from the darkness between stars. Her graying hair now hung loose, framing a face that looked both ancient and timeless. In her hands she held objects that shouldn't exist, a mortar and pestle that gleamed with an inner light, and a collection of keys that chimed like funeral bells. "The Terran Federation," she said, her voice now carrying harmonics that made the Zephyrian nobles whimper, "is humanity's face turned toward the light. We are explorers, diplomats, builders of bridges between worlds." She smiled, revealing teeth that seemed sharper than they had been moments before. "But humanity has another face, King Vorthak. A face we turn toward those who would threaten children, who would treat innocents as cattle." The crystalline cases along the walls began to crack, spiderwebbing with stress fractures as an impossible pressure filled the room. "You want to know about human warriors?" Elena asked, grinding something unseen in her mortar. Let me tell you about the Baba Yaga Company. Volunteers from every human colony, every space station, every outpost where children laughed and families loved. They have a saying, "We are the thing that monsters check for under their beds." Vorthak lunged forward with surprising speed for his massive size, his bone-bladed arms whistling through the air where Elena's head had been. But she was already gone, appearing behind him again as if space itself bent to her will. "I came here," she said conversationally, "to offer you peace, to extend the hand of friendship between our species." She paused, considering. "But you chose to threaten children, to speak of breeding facilities and harvesting." Her smile vanished. "That was unwise." The king spun again, but Elena was everywhere and nowhere, her voice seeming to come from the walls themselves. "Do you know what happens to those who harm children in human space, Your Majesty? They disappear completely, not killed, killing is too kind. They simply cease, erased from existence so thoroughly that reality forgets they ever were." Vorthak's rage gave way to something he hadn't felt in millennia: fear. "You cannot threaten the Zephyrian Empire. I am immortal. I have conquered 1,000 worlds. And yet," Elena said, materializing directly in front of him, close enough that he could see his own reflection multiplied in her dark eyes, "you have never met humanity's true face." She held up one of her impossible keys, its surface reflecting scenes of battles that had never been fought, of victories that existed in potential alone. "This key opens the door between what is and what could be. Shall I show you the future where you threatened our children?" The king's 6 eyes widened as images flashed in the key's surface, his empire reduced to drifting debris, his species scattered to the cosmic winds, his very name forgotten by history. But worse than destruction was the loneliness, the absolute isolation of being the last of his kind, condemned to wander empty space for eternity. "Choose," Elena said simply. "Partnership with the Terran Federation, or I open this door and step aside for those who come after me." The Baba Yaga Company is thorough in their work. King Vorthak, conqueror of worlds, found himself kneeling before a single human woman whose coat seemed to contain the darkness between stars. We accept your terms. Partnership, equal terms." Elena nodded and the impossible keys vanished, her coat fading back into a diplomatic uniform. The crystalline cases along the walls cracked open, releasing their prisoners who gasped their first free breaths in years. "Excellent. I'll have the treaty documents prepared within the hour." As she turned to leave, Vorthak's voice stopped her. "Ambassador? What are you really?" Elena paused at the threshold, looking back with a smile that was both grandmotherly and terrible. "I am what I have always been, Your Majesty, a storyteller. And today, I chose to tell a story with a happy ending." She walked into the corridor, her footsteps echoing like the ticking of a cosmic clock. Behind her in the crystalline throne room, King Vorthak sat in silence, finally understanding why humanity's myths spoke of monsters that checked under their own beds. Some stories, after all, were truer than fiction.